Hello, fellow backtrackers. I'm Alex McClellan.
I'm Mason McClellan.
And we are the Backtrack Brothers. And today we are reviewing the 2004 comedy Team America World Police, which is created by the makers of South Park, Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
Yes, I can definitely tell that it was. Even if I didn't know this beforehand, just by watching the movie, you can definitely see, even by the actors' voices, you can tell it's made by the same people.
Exactly. The sense of humor, the voices, everything is pretty derived from South Park for sure. This was one of our more popular Guess the Plot videos that we did more in our infancy of this channel, and it was Mason's idea to say, hey, why don't we watch the full thing? And I said, all right, feel free to dive into 2000s politics.
And if the video does well, then you're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. So here we are. We're gonna talk about Team America World Police. Let's kick it off with Mason. Why don't you just give us your initial reactions?
Cool, so originally going into this from seeing the trailer, I thought that watching an hour-and-a-half movie of just puppets would throw me off. But in some moments, I forgot they were puppets.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? It really is.
Until they do like a kissing thing where they just like mash their heads together.
Yes.
And that's when you know they're puppets, but for the most part, it's a good, sustainable comedy that I was interested through
That's
throughout
awesome.
all movies.
That's really good to hear.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure a lot of people hear about a movie about puppets and they just are instantly turned off. They're like, there's no way it'll work.
Even if you're turned off by the puppets, this movie is so funny.
Yes, it's
really off the wall, it's random, it's hilarious. And
Yeah.
we're gonna talk about it in spoilers, but if you don't want to be spoiled, then stop.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mason. I think Team America it's a very smart, very funny movie. I think it's definitely flawed. Like, I'm not talking about the puppets. I'm talking about in terms of how the movie's executed. I think there's a few points that it could be better. But let's start with talking about probably the most unique thing about this movie, and then that is the puppets.
Yeah.
And how do you think it was executed? I know you said, you were engaged, you forgot they were puppets.
Yeah.
So obviously you must have liked it to some extent.
Yeah, and I thought, the moments where they used the puppets for comedic effect, like them walking out of the room.
Oh my God.
Follow me, Gary, and
Yes, and they
prancing
do
out.
They do a very good job of laughing at themselves. You know what I mean? It's like right in the opening. Literally the first shot, it's a marionette puppet performance by puppets. So it's almost saying this is how bad this movie could have been, and then it pans out and you actually see a fairly gorgeous view of Paris, and like when you see Cairo and you see these different, like the Panama Canal, they're actually pretty good looking set pieces, especially like the Panama Canal disaster. I thought that was shot as well as any modern disaster movie, in my opinion, with puppets. Like, that's not easy, dude.
And it was pretty brutal.
Yes, especially that last 30 minutes where, dude, it's pretty gory. Like, if you're squeamish to puppet blood, then you don't want to watch this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of and it's not like puppet stuffing. They like stuffed it with like fake organs and chicken livers and shit. So
Again, that's also them using the puppets to the best effect, because you're not expecting all this gore to come out of a puppet, so it just makes it.
Oh yeah, when it happens the first time, then you're like, oh, I can't wait to see how much further this escalates, because it certainly does. Like, think about Helen Hunt getting sent off the balcony. Oh my gosh, she explodes like a soft potato. One thing I think was really a strong point of using the puppets too is whenever they're just trying to do like blank faces, like, which, comedically there's a lot of times where you want to give something a very straight way.
Yeah.
And so these puppets can deliver this flat face reaction that human beings, it's hard to do, very honestly. So it's one thing I actually really liked how they used the puppets in that regard, Like, think about when Spotswood hands him the hammer. There's just 3 seconds of just silence with them staring at each other without blinking, and then he just continues with the conversation. That'd be really hard to do with just people.
And it wouldn't look nearly as like realistic.
Exactly. It's just super deadpan. It makes the deadpan that much more effective. Mason, how much exposure have you had to South Park? Have you watched like a decent amount of episodes?
So I know our brother Ryan, has been watching it a lot.
Has he?
I think it's because TikTok now, they just post clips from like the show and the episode name. So if you like the clip from the show, then you get to watch the whole episode.
That's pretty sweet.
So that's how he's kind of been getting exposed.
Right.
And he's just been watching them while he's eating dinner. So we did it at the same time. So I go down and we watch episodes together, and they're pretty funny.
Oh yeah.
So,
and the reason I asked you that is because I wanted to see if you were aware of the fact that they infuse parody into South Park all the time. Like, that's basically what South Park is. It's parodizing the whatever.
So many episodes like have like celebrities or like political figures, which is this movie.
Exactly. Like they had the whole PC principle and all that stuff was going on. But yeah, so whether it's old or new, they're always talking about whatever the current events are. So that is where I think it could be a positive or negative with this movie, right? Because it is so steeped in that early 2000s politics, which
I mean, yeah, this is taking place in 2004. They're talking about 9/11 times 1,000. So it's
well, yeah, I think 9/11 was only 3 years before this. It was still fresh in everyone's mind.
You did the math.
Yeah, I did. And you being someone who wasn't born until 2008, you don't really know what that felt like at that time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was pretty hot topic to be making a movie about even 3 years later. I mean, it's still a very sensitive topic even now. So the fact that they did it, you could think only the creators of South Park would have the balls to make a movie like this. And I just give them all the credit in the world. I think it's obviously very offensive. Like, there's no doubt about offensiveness here. But they're doing it in the sake of parody. I think by baking it in with the comedy and the messaging they're trying to get across, I think it's still digestible.
Yeah.
I worry in 20 years that basically no one's gonna know what the fuck this movie's about, and it's only gonna be more offensive, and then it's not gonna play well. So that is like the one thing I kind of worry about with how this movie's gonna age.
Yeah.
You know, I worry less about the puppets than the storyline, which is odd. I think that's kind of weird. I feel like these puppets are gonna be effective. Because think, when's the last time you've seen a good puppet movie?
I don't think I've ever seen a puppet movie in general. So
Exactly.
the bar's set with this movie.
It's a high bar in my opinion, you know? Like, I would like to see something come out, like do like a Pinocchio like this or something, I don't know. I bring up the parody stuff too, because when we're talking about, you know, the offensive nature, when we're talking about like the Film Actors Guild, or we're talking about how Gary gets amorphanized into a Middle Eastern gentleman. Literally putting a towel on his head. It is rough, dude. That is... It is rough, but they make it so serious, and everyone in the film is taking it so serious that that's why it's so effective as both comedy and as a parody.
To the point where his teammates fall for the disguise.
Right, exactly. They don't recognize them when they see him 10 minutes later. Exactly. So they're so committed. That's why it's important. Like, you know, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, they're smart enough to know they laugh at themselves, which takes a little bit of the seriousness of this away, and then they fully commit. They don't have to commit like, oh, we're joking, but we're not really serious. Like, no, we're putting a fucking towel on his head. We're very clear what we're saying right now. And you might agree or disagree with it. If you disagree, you're probably not watching this movie in the first place. Let's be very real on that.
You probably already watched this video, yeah.
Right, exactly. You've turned off this video way long ago. Mason, how do you think your generation or people around your age would watch this and react to it in terms of kind of like those topics?
I think it's 50-50.
Okay.
But I think it's very extreme 50-50. I think it's either people find it really funny,
Yeah.
or people will try and burn down this movie.
Yeah, right. Right, there's no in between. Either, and what's scary is some people are going to find it funny for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, oh, yeah. And you're like, whoa, we didn't like, no. That's not what we meant. That's not what we're going for. Continuing on with the parody aspect, in case you can't tell, I love parody. It just in general, whether it's a YouTube video or an hour 30 minute long movie, I just love parody in general. If you can infuse serious messaging with comedy and do it in a really smart manner that you can kind of tuck it all into each other and not make it blatantly obvious what you're trying to do, I respect the hell out of that. And I wonder what you think about how the parody is done in the music of this movie.
Dude, I thought this music was so funny.
Oh my lord.
It was definitely one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Yes, and it's honestly Trey Parker and Matt Stone. They do it in South Park. They do it in the Bigger, Longer, and Uncut South Park movie. It's basically a musical. Our family has been listening to the South Park Christmas album for as long as I can remember, probably as long as you can remember. Trey Parker and Matt Stone's ability to put together comedic and parodying music is, in my opinion, up there with Weird Al Yankovic. Probably better, to be honest with you.
I think better.
They are fantastic at it, and it's just the little obscure stuff, like Pearl Harbor sucks. Like, that's something that may not register with you, but Pearl Harbor was a shitty movie that came out in the early 2000s with Ben Affleck and stuff. And he just turns a love song where he's trying to talk about how he misses his girl, and also just gonna shoot bombs at Affleck and Pearl Harbor for no reason.
Like Pearl Harbor sucks. Or I miss what you said. I miss
Pearl Harbor sucks, and I miss you a little bit more than I miss you. We have to talk about the theme song, which I feel like is the most
recognizable.
The most recognizable part of this whole movie. I just saw a new meme come out where it's like the bald eagle with the chicken with the fake arms, and he's like shooting guns in the air to the Team America theme. It's really funny. It's a really good meme. The theme song, and really all the songs, I sing along in this whole movie.
You sing along to AIDS?
Yeah, everyone has AIDS. My dog, grandma, and my dog all blue. The Pope has got it, and so do you. Come on, everybody, we got quilting to do. Yeah, I know it.
He likes this movie, by the way.
Yeah, well, you gotta think, when I found this movie, it came out in 2004, 2005, I was 13 years old, so right around your age, and boy did it appeal to my sense of humor. Might have formed it partly. Have you seen enough action movies at this point to pick up on all the cliche action movie bullshit that's in this movie too?
Give me an example.
So the opening scene, literally, when that guy is dying, I forget what his name is because he dies so fast.
Yeah.
He's like, it's so cold. So I was like, it's okay to live on. And then he dies and it's, no!
And the camera pans up.
Yeah, and the camera pans, exactly. See, he's 15 years old. He knows what the fuck I'm talking about. The fact that you have the new member join the team, there's always one asshole who's like, I'll vote for your bullshit, man, you suck. That's Chris, that's the martial arts guy. There's always that thing. The leader, he has something tragic in his past that he has to work over and get over to be able to save the day. In this instance, it's his acting.
Love interest on the team.
Yeah, the love, not just his love interest, it's love everywhere. Like, everyone's in love with the wrong person, and it leads to them all getting
Everything
captured.
just dumps at once. Like, it would just be like they're like raiding a terrorist town, and they're just in the middle of like action, just be like, Tracy, I thought you loved me.
Yeah. I'm just a friend, that's all I'll ever be. It's never fair. I think it's good that you caught that, and I think it's very purposeful on their part. I think a lot of people, if you've watched action movies from the 70s through the 2000s, you knew this was the formula, and you probably loved it or you hated it, but you know what? The creators of this movie, they said, we're just gonna lean into it, we're gonna do all the stereotypical bullshit and make fun of it, basically.
Yeah.
I think it's very effective. Yeah, and I think you'll recognize the more action movies you used to watch that you're like, hey, this is what happened in Team America.
I'll say something real quick.
Yeah. I have something to say.
Mr. Alex, can I speak?
No! This is my channel. You stand there looking small and cute. You're my mascot.
You're the clickbait.
You're the clickbait, yeah. We're gonna need to get you a push-up bra.
So a few months ago, I was talking about how our brother, I keep saying my brother.
It's okay. You can take possession of him. He's not that great.
Our brother started watching South Park, which has got me into South Park, and eventually we watched the classic South Park movie.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And I realized after watching this movie is that they're very, very similar.
Yeah, they are. They are.
It's like parodying actors, world leaders, has this big showcase at the end where if it goes through, something bad's gonna happen.
Yes, exactly.
It's the same movie. There's this team of kids or people who don't have a shot at saving it who eventually persuade everyone to think a certain way, which solves everything.
Oh man, Mason is starting to see the 4D matrix of movie creation, and
it's the same movie.
You're gonna be really disappointed when you realize, 50% of movies all follow that same plot.
No, it's the same. It even had that the big show at the end.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah, but that's how, if you see any big movie, there's always some big end set piece. Even the Marvel movies, there's always one big final battle, right?
Yeah, but is there
Yeah, it is. Wait until you're older, you'll start going back, you're like, holy shit, I've been falling for this continually. It's the same thing with different characters. This is why we do the channel. This is perfect. I love it. You're growing, you're learning, you're like, what? And then that's the flip side of learning, you're disappointed. You're like, oh fuck.
No, it's just a game that's made by the same people.
Yes, yeah. It makes it worse. It makes it easier to connect those dots.
Yeah.
Especially if you watch them close together. I'm really happy you saw that movie. That movie's so fucking funny. Well, what Brian Boitano do? Anyway, so I picked the most obscure song on that whole movie. So,
I know, you didn't pick anything like that.
Brian Cortana was a famous ice skater. Like, I didn't know that when I first saw that movie. That's the thing, like with comedy, like half the times I'll hear a joke and I won't get it, but then that causes me to go on Google and learn. I've learned so much from not getting jokes and wanting to understand them. So I encourage any of you, if you're watching this video, you're like, I have no idea what the fuck Alex and Mason are talking about, Google it. You might learn something.
And you might think we're funny.
Yeah, I don't know about that. One thing about this movie, I'm not a huge fan of personally, is that I think this movie does definitely come to a much slower pace once you get to the part where Gary leaves and they have like the sad theme song, and that's when they're all fighting about their little couples quarrels. They get captured. Pretty much up until he sucks Spotwood's dick, it's really slow and not as funny. And during that 10-minute stretch, that's when I always look at my phone. That's when it's just an easy out for people to lose attention, especially during the last 30 minutes where it's more really the end of this movie becomes more like an action movie. You know what I mean? There's still some funny stuff, but it's more of funny just watching celebrities get killed. It's not as much one-liners, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So for the actor parodies, as a 15-year-old, I didn't know or get a lot of the jokes they were talking about.
I was gonna say, you probably recognize about half of them, I would say, right? You probably know Sean Penn, George Clooney,
Samuel Jackson,
Matt Damon.
Ben Affleck.
Are you ever gonna be able to see Matt Damon and not think Matt Damon? Every time. I love Matt Damon. We literally just watched Good Will Hunting last week. My wife had never seen it. I've been trying to get her to watch it for years. We finally watch it. I love Matt Damon. Every time I see him, Matt Damon. It's the top comment or guess the plot trailer for this.
I didn't get it.
Someone wrote Matt Damon in all lower caps and it has 13 likes. But yeah, I imagine you probably don't know Helen Hunt. You probably don't know Janine Garofalo. Janine Garofalo.
I thought they were talking about the 49ers quarterback.
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy Garoppolo. I was like, wait, in 2004.
Jimmy G is way hotter than her. Way hotter. What I think is interesting, to your point, the faces may not be ones that you recognize, at least not all of them.
Yeah.
But you can definitely connect with the idea of celebrities speaking up about politics and social issues and stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's more rampant now than ever. So I thought that actually was pretty poignant and, kind of, aged well. But, we know some of the other stuff didn't. All right, everybody, we are now here. We're going to give our final concluding grades for Team America World Police. Mason, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, so I was cracking up during our trailer reaction. I was cracking up watching this movie. It's very funny. Some things are very cliche, but that can be a pro or con depending on if you see the humor in it or not.
Definitely.
For me, I didn't really get some the celebrity jokes, but I thought that the songs were hilarious. I definitely have a few of them in my playlist now. Overall, I'm gonna give it an 8.4 out of 10.
Nice! Solid score. Pretty close to mine. I'll be very straightforward. The score that I gave it an 8.3 out of 10.
Oh, wow.
So 0.1 lower. Yeah, and honestly, this is obviously a very subjective personal rating. I am not saying that compared to all of the movies of all time that this is an 83% out of 100%.
Well, hold on, wait. I don't feel like I should have this movie ranked higher than you. I'm gonna give mine an 8.2.
Well, I know.
It feels wrong to have mine.
Well, no, I looked at this with a much more critical eye than I had previous times watching it, and I honestly hadn't been as disappointed about how this movie slows down until these last couple times watching it as an older adult. You just feel the gas run out of the tank. The energy just loses itself. Now, I don't want people to hear that and be like, oh, I shouldn't watch this movie then. You should watch this movie, but just know that's coming. Know you're gonna have to, and you know what? If you haven't seen this movie before, that part's gonna be more engaging for you because you don't know what to expect. Versus me, I know what's happening during that 10 minutes. It's the least entertaining for me, so I just kind of phase out there.
Yeah.
But it is overall a very entertaining movie. It's super creative and unique. You watch it, you will remember it. You may not get all the references, especially if you aren't, very knowledgeable about early 2000s U.S. and world history, and familiar with North Korea and all that different, and the celebrities at the time. So part of the reason I scored a little bit lower is because I know it's not going to age very well, unfortunately. As much as I enjoy this movie, I was actually thinking about how fucking weird it's going to be. I'm like a 60-something-year-old man watching this movie. My grandkids are like, Dad's watching a movie with puppets. So I gave it an 8.3. Adjusted score, 8.4 or 8.2?
8.2.
8.2. Fair. So slightly lower than me. We both recommend it. Please go check it out. Please let us know if you have seen it. Let us know your thoughts. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? Why don't you do the like, subscribe stuff?
Well, that's that whole outro we already recorded.
Oh yeah, we already have the outro.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't even need to do any of this.
Yeah, no, how are we even doing this?
Thanks for checking out this video, fellow backtrackers.
Like, subscribe, ring the bell, doing that.
Yeah, if you got a video or a movie you want us to cover, like, just let us know in the comments.
Follow Instagram, Facebook, and all of our socials.
Or don't, I don't really give a shit.